The silent corridor in a small town. As the night wrapped every street in darkness, 16-year-old Mert was walking home. After a fun evening with his friends, it was time to head back. The town was so quiet that only the sound of his footsteps and the gentle rustle of the wind could be heard. Mert's route home passed by an old, nearly collapsing apartment building. As he walked by, he noticed one of the windows slightly ajar. He felt like someone inside was watching him, but he told himself it was just his imagination and continued walking. However, the faster he walked, the more uneasy he felt. After a while, Mert realized that the footsteps he heard weren't just his own. There was another set of footsteps behind him. He quickly turned around, but no one was there. His heart began to race. He wanted to reach home immediately, but with every step he took, the footsteps seemed to get closer. As Mert entered the dark street in front of the apartment, he noticed that the sounds suddenly stopped. This silence was even more terrifying. It was as if someone was very close to him, but he couldn't see who it was. He started running, but no matter how fast he ran, the footsteps were always right behind him. His heart was pounding, and his lungs burned with every breath. When he finally passed by the apartment again, he glanced at the window. This time he saw a silhouette clearly inside. It was a woman, her eyes locked onto Mert's. Her eyes were empty, yet Mert felt an indescribable terror in that emptiness. It was as if something in those eyes was sucking the life out of him. At that moment, he heard the apartment door creak open. The sound of the rusty hinges chilled Mert to the bone. With a moment of courage, he turned to look at the woman again, but the window was empty. She was gone. This made Mert even more frightened. As the door slowly opened wider, Mert decided to walk past it without entering, swearing he wouldn't step inside. But just then, he felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. It was as if his throat was tied in knots. When Mert turned around, there was no one there, but the door was now fully open. A terrifying smell was wafting from inside the building, spreading through the street. Mert couldn't see where it was coming from, but it felt like something was trying to pull him in. At that moment, he heard a whisper from the apartment. Come here," the whisper echoed in Mert's mind. He was losing control completely. He wanted to run, but his legs betrayed him. As he took a step back, he saw a figure emerging from the apartment, a translucent shape, but definitely not human. Mert realized the figure was rapidly approaching him and fell to the ground in terror. At this point, everything felt like a nightmare. The figure leaned over Mert and whispered with cold breath, "You found me." Mert's mind went blank, and his eyes involuntarily began to close. In the morning, they found Mert unconscious in front of the apartment. His eyes were wide open in fear, but he was unresponsive. When medical help arrived, Mert was still out of it. The doctors said he had suffered an extreme shock, but Mert wasn't in this world anymore after this incident. No one in the small town dared to walk by that apartment at night. Everyone who did felt as if they were being watched, just like Mert. As for Mert, he was never the same again, because that night he learned a secret that only those who lived in that apartment knew. Some doors should never be opened, and some whispers should never be heard.